All right, let's take a look at how we can set up Playwright for end-to-end testing with Auth0 in a Next.js application. So what I've got here is a basic Next scaffold that I set up with create next app at latest. We have our Auth0 session set up right now in the page. If we're not logged in, we'll show a sign up and a login link. And if we are logged in, then we'll show a welcome message for the user and a log out link. And so the question is, how do we effectively set up testing in this environment? And I personally think that end-to-end tests are the best way to roll with this kind of verification. So what I've got is, if we look in package.json, in addition to the stock stuff that you get with Next, which are these 4 scripts, I've got a number of test scripts that I find pretty useful for verifying this kind of thing. So if you just want to run the end-to-end tests headlessly, you can run this one. Playwright comes with a really great UI runner. And so if you want to see that, you can take a look there. If you want to use Playwright to script a test, it's got a really great recorder. And right now I have some configuration set up for a couple of default tests. These are things that you probably want to run differently in CI. So I've got one set up with just a basic smoke test, which verifies signing up, signing in, signing out, that kind of thing. And then another test suite set up for features. So this would be maybe one test file per route with a very happy path test in Playwright. And then there's a debug mode that works pretty well. So to kick it off, let's run the UI mode. And we can do that with npm run test e2e UI. This will kick off Playwright's UI Explorer, which you can see here. And here I can also see the projects that I have configured and the individual tests within that. And so if this kicks off, so I can see my smoke test here. I can look at the source for that, and I can see that I have some test helpers that I've configured as well. We can take a look at those really quickly. So in the E directory, here's my spec helpers. And I've got a small helper that creates a testing context to generate me a randomized email and a fixed password. And so if you're using a managed auth solution like Auth0 or Clerk or Okta, I think Okta uses Auth0. This is a decent way to kind of verify your sign-up flow continues to work as you add more tests. And we'll see how that works in a second. But there's a couple of helper methods here for signing in, signing up, and signing out. So let's try to run this smoke test because I'm pretty sure there's a bug in it, and that'll be good to see. So if I hit play, this is going to spin up my web server, and you'll see a whole bunch of frames start showing up here. And this is the Playwright inspector timeline, which is really cool. And if I want to, I can actually click on this button and get a fully explorable version of the DOM. It's just static, but it's through the Playwright trace tool. So I can see exactly what the state of the DOM was when this snapshot ran. Similarly, as I scrub along the timeline here, I can see, oh, there's the next page that was loading. And oh, here we got to the Auth0 page. Let's open that and see what Playwright was trying to do. It looks like it got stuck because I have a line here that says get by label password. Click and let's see. Oh no, it actually got stuck here. It was trying to figure out which continue button to hit. And if we look down here, you can see that there's 2 continue buttons. So I really like this feature of the Playwright debugger because you can go line by line in each step. You can scrub through the timeline. You can click that to get a version of the browser to see exactly what Playwright was doing. And you can see where the problem was. And so I think the issue is we have a continue button for self-serve signup on this Okta or Auth0 widget. And we also have a continue with Google button. So let's fix our test to make sure that that works properly. So that is in smoke. And let's go to the sign up helper because I think that's where that was triggering the issue. And so let's say we want name is continue. And I think if we do exact true, then that should get us the button that we want for the self-serve signup. I'm not going to test the Google signup flow. So with that change in place, let's try to rerun this, see if we get further. And now it looks maybe like our password entry is not quite right. I can see that let's pop this open. I can see that my timestamp plus test user at example.com is in there, but perhaps the password field is not quite right. Which is interesting. So this also kind of shows that sometimes, this is a typical failure state that you might get in running these end-to-end tests. So another way that we can debug this is to just go into an interactive session and record via clicking through the app the test that we want to express. And Playwright will give us the ability to debug that live, but also go step by step and generate selectors, which are kind of these lines, these page.getBy methods in the little Playwright DSL. So let's give that a shot. So if I kill this and we look at that package.json again, we can see that I have a test E2E record. So let's run that one. So we're going to do npm run test E2E record. And in this case, I need to have the server running. So let me run the server first. Make sure that that's working. Okay, cool. Here's my page, and I got the login method wired up. I've got my Auth0 app configured. Oh, that's just a normal warning from Auth0. Okay, cool. So now that I have that, let's open up another one, and we'll do npm run test E2E record, and we should be good now. There we go. All right, so now I'm in like a step debugging recording mode using the Chromium instance that Playwright includes. And so what I want to do is script through what I want this thing to do. So I want to go to sign up, and I can see the test is being driven dynamically here. I'm going to do email address, and I'm going to fill it in with, plus test user at example.com. And I'm going to go to that password input. And then I'm going to fill that in with, actually, I'm going to go grab, I think I have a sample value. Let's look in spec helpers. Yeah, this is the password that I was using, just some random sequence of characters. So now I have Playwright. And as you're going, you can kind of see there's a whole bunch of stuff that gets thrown in here, right? But what I'm really looking for is I wanted to fill that in there. That looks good. And then I want to hit continue. And you can see here, if you hover over it, that it will show you the selector that it's going to generate. So here, continue with Google is the name of this button, but continue exact true is that one. So I'm going to hit continue. And then I'm going to hit accept on this authorize. And now I can see that I have my welcome message and I'm logged in. So that's cool. So how can I use this to update my test? Let's take what is in here and copy and paste it. And let's go back and look at the sign up flow, which I think was what we were hitting here. And I'm just going to paste this temporarily and see. I mean, it looks pretty close. I'm filling it with the email. One interesting thing is this password. Yeah, that I'm curious as to why. Oh, I see. So the selector that generated is actually slightly different. You can see here. Ideally, you would want to use get by label and sort of the REF role friendly, accessibility friendly selectors, because that actually sort of verifies the accessibility criteria for these tests, or for your implementation, which is decent. But in this case, Playwright will generate the selector that makes the most sense. And so here it looks like get by role text box is what's showing up there. So let me make those changes and then I'll try to rerun the test. Okay, I've made those changes. I've got get by role text box for the password for whatever reason. I guess the markup that maybe Auth0 or Okta generates for their sign up form is not super accessible, so I can't use that get by label. But get by role text box should work. So now that I've done that, I can get out of this debugging session or this record session. So again, there's nothing that saves to disk. It's mostly just a utility so that I can like debug and see clicking around. Okay, now that we have that, let's run test EDUI again. This one will kick off the dev server. So now if we go to smoke, let's hit this again and see if we can get a little bit further in our test. There we go. My password one, or my sign in test now is going to have the same challenge. So it looks like sign up completed properly, but sign in, I need to update my selectors as well. So let me go do that quickly. So I updated those password field selectors here as well. So let's run it again. Let's sign up. Yeah, we're good. And where did we fail? Oh, I have another continue button that I need to modify. So let me fix that. Cool. So I fixed my other one. And this is sort of demonstrative of the sort of flakiness that you get with these end-to-end tests. And my challenge was I kind of just wrote these and shot from the hip. But I find if you're going to build these type of little helper utilities or even these end-to-end tests with Playwright, it's better to just use the record thing right from the get-go, because that is the closest simulation that you can get to how a user is going to use your application. So let's check now if we're good. So we can sign up. Cool. We can log in. And what's it complaining about now? Oh, it's green. Yeah, we're good. Sorry, I just paused it there. But if we want to scrub through the whole timeline, we can kind of see exactly what's going on. And we can see the little locator that's being used. So we clicked on that exact true. We did the sign up. We authorized the app. We got to the login page. And we're green on our smoke test. So that just gives you an example of a setup in this repo that you can use. If we open up that smoke test, you can see it's just going through the motions: sign up, sign out, sign in. That's a decent one that you might want to consider running in CI, but you also might argue that it's not worth testing all of those code paths on every change. Maybe it is. Maybe the app that you're working on has a lot of volatility or changes around the plumbing for Auth0 or for whatever managed auth solution you're using. And then maybe you might argue that this is a good one to run. My hunch, and usually what I try to set up with these things, is maybe there's more of a feature test that we want to run. And so I've got this features folder. And if we look at the Playwright config, we can get a little bit more info on how this is configured. So the project area of playwright.config.ts lets you configure a number of different projects and dependencies, which is kind of cool. So that smoke test that we were running is set up here, and it just matches that single file. It runs in Chrome, desktop Chrome. By default on CI, it'll run headlessly. But when you're running locally, it's really nice to be able to run it headed. But the features suite that I have, or features project rather, using the Playwright language, it's set up to look for anything inside of the features folder or any file with a .feature.ts. And so the other thing is that it will run the setup before it runs any of these features. And the nice thing about this setup that I've configured is we can cache the session for a given run of tests, so that we don't have to continually sign up and sign in a user. And so what this setup will do first is it'll run through that sign up flow, and then it'll cache the user's metadata and basically the session token, all of the cookies, everything that Playwright needs to resume inside this file path that I've configured here. And so if we run the features test now, we should be able to see that working. I believe the only assertion I have in here is that for a given test context, we should be able to see the welcome message. So let's give that a try and see. So I'm going to run the features one here. That's going to run the auth one first that you can see, which finished. And I got my sample feature and we are green. And I can see if I really want to pop the DOM out here, I should be able to see that. Yep, there we go. I can see my welcome message, etc. So in this way, we could continue to add features and we would be ensured that our test suite would not slow down as we continue to add them. And my sort of feeling on what the best approach is for this is to add maybe one per route and test the happy path, not be super exhaustive in this. It's easy to be super exhaustive when you're writing these types of tests with Playwright, but I think it's not the best approach. And so I would strongly advocate for, keeping these as minimal as possible, just because they cover so many boundaries, and the value that you get out of them in terms of regression safety is really high. But the more you invest, the more potential there is for your test suite to get a lot slower. So yeah, that's Playwright in a nutshell, and that's how I would configure it for a new Next.js project, or really any project that I was building with a managed auth solution, and I wanted to verify things. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to put this code up on our GitHub, and you'll be able to download it and take a look. Hopefully, this is helpful.